So, my friends, have you ever stopped and asked yourself, why is hockey so awesome? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but our next guest has given it a lot of thought, so much so he's written an entire book about it. And oh, he also wrote a theme song to go with the book.
The Awesome Game. It's my book about hockey. And if you like hockey, I know that you will love it. And even if you don't like hockey, you'll love it. Even if you don't like sports, I still think that you should read it, of course. So literary class.
That is the truly awesome and multi-talented Dave Hill singing the praises of his newest literary offering, one that is celebrating the sport of hockey. Dave went on a globe-trotting adventure across Canada, obviously, but also New York, Poland, and even Kenya. He joins us this morning with what he's learned about the awesome game. Dave, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I know you were here for your last book as well, which kind of touched on the fact that you're part Canadian.
Quarter Canadian.
So is that where the idea for this book came from, or like how did you decide to really take on a full book about hockey?
Well, my grandfather's from Canada, so that is, I kind of got into hockey through him.
Yeah.
So that it was a bit of an extension, but I've just always loved hockey as a kid. And growing up in Cleveland, the Paris of Northeastern Ohio.
That's what they call it, right?
I believe everyone else does. I know I do. But, you know, it was alone. Being a hockey fan in Cleveland was very lonely. We had an NHL team for only 2 years. And
right.
I knew like 2 other kids who were into hockey. And so it was just lonely, you know, because it was just Browns, Cavs,
Yep.
you know, kind of stuff. And you would be like, oh, the Flyers are playing, and people would be like, what are the Flyers?
What are they?
So, you know, things like that. And but I've just loved it, and frustrated being an American, where the sport isn't nearly as popular as it
Right.
should be. Like whenever I come to Canada and you just walk like past a bar or just a television anywhere, and there's a hockey game on, I'm like, this is how life should be. But in America, it's not like that. Like when I go out in my neighborhood, I live in New York, and if I go to a bar and the game's on, you know, the Rangers on or whoever, I'll be like, can you turn? And they're like, what channel would that be on?
I don't even,
you know, truly, even during the playoffs, I'm like,
really?
I'm like the team that plays up the street.
Wow.
Come on.
Well, welcome back to your proper home. Welcome,
Thank you.
Welcome back to
Yes,
Canada.
my
We appreciate
spiritual
hockey
home.
here. I love that you went all over the world for this. You're a world traveler. You went all over, like, kind of getting insight into how people feel about hockey around the world, including Eastern Africa. You went to Kenya. So tell us a bit about the team there.
The Kenya Ice Lines, it started, I'm obsessed with hockey jerseys, which I talk about in the book. But I was searching late at night on the internet for the coolest non-NHL jerseys, because the coolest jerseys, the non-NHL are better because they're not afraid to have blood and things like that in the jersey. So there's Kenya Ice Lions, and I was like, Kenya, that must be somewhere in Ontario I haven't heard of. But it's turned out to be the arguably more popular country of Kenya.
Look at that, it's awesome.
But I went there, and I played with these guys, the Kenya Ice Lions, and I've been skating since I was 3. And I really thought I was going to beat them up pretty badly, but I was mistaken.
Really?
Oh.
They schooled you?
It was, well, we played roller hockey, so
Yeah.
I was a bit, you know, I'd never played roller hockey before, but I was like, how hard could it be? Plus, they played for 5 hours. Now,
Wow.
I'm 26, I'm a little older than 26, but they were just birds of prey circling over me, just waiting for me to drop. Like,
I love it.
Oh.
I love it.
But it was an amazing experience.
And I know you got to reconnect with NHL legend Brian Trottier. You met him back when you were like 13, but what was it like to reconnect with him for this book?
It was amazing. I mean, I was just talking about this. When you listen to the recording of our conversation, I sound like I'm still 13. I was just terrified. He lived down the street from my cousins on Long Island during like peak Islanders Stanley Cup dynasty, and I went and stood on his front lawn waiting for him to come out, and I was hoping, you know, we would just pick up where we left off, but he didn't remember that. But it was amazing talking to him. He was just such a hero and an amazing guy, and But yeah, you can, the recording, I'm just terrified. I sound like Chris Farley talking to Paul McCartney.
Right, yeah. I remember that. Well, you're a super fan. I love it. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks for writing this book and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having
great to
me.
meet you. And welcome home back to Canada. You can read all about Dave's adventures in his new book. It is called The Awesome Game, and it is awesome.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.